the community of people of Hillsong, of this campus, has just been life-giving, refreshing. Frankly, I would use the word renewing in my faith even. It's just been a really, really special time, frankly.
We got connected with Hillsong because I worked at a church out on the East Coast and was using a lot of creative team resources, and was really excited when we knew we were moving back to California to see what Hillsong was like in person and what was it like beyond the blog entries. So we came in 2019 and started serving on creative and got connected, made friends.
We have always been super into running and just kind of wanted to get people back out into outside, because I think kind of everyone was like inside so much. And so it was really Jen's idea of like, hey, why don't we just try to combine this thing we already do, which we love, being outside, living in California, running around, with hanging out with people. So we basically just decided to start this running group where we opened it up to our friends and anyone at church really, to just kind of come out, run a little bit with us. We would get dinner afterwards and just, yeah, talk about what's going on in our lives, what the Lord's doing, and just kind of have community, really.
I'm an introvert, and so there's like a lot of vulnerability and just like showing up to a place. And again, that for me, it was that commitment. Like I can show up for other people for this Runners Connect group, and in the process of me just showing up and being willing to be there with people, I've just seen people show up for me in response.
I mean, ultimately, all you can do is like open the door, right? Like all we can do is make ourselves available. And yeah, there's been times where we like made ourselves available, and like from our human perspective, it didn't seem like a very good bang for your buck kind of thing. But then there's been other examples like that where like those have been like the most rewarding nights, where it's like one person showed up, but that person for sure needed somebody that night, and you can still remember those conversations. It's easy to be like, oh, it's not worth it. It's like, that's not the right way to think about it. I don't know.
So I grew up in the church, heavily involved, a really, really small church in my hometown. My parents still go there. When I went off to college, kind of just pulled away from my time in church. It would just be sparingly popping in on a Sunday here and there. Didn't have a home church. Post-college, moved out to LA and had started dating Carissa at that time. And we were both deciding like where a church is gonna be in LA. One time we were leaving church and we were like, yeah, this is our church is Hillsong, you know? And so we kind of made that decision then. That was probably 8 years ago or a little more. And we kind of decided that was our church. I work in an industry that isn't necessarily filled with Christians or any, people that wouldn't call themselves that, or, are often finding themselves in church. So it gives me an opportunity to love people, lead people in a way with integrity. Or it's definitely a balancing act, right? Because we all have a job to do. We all have numbers to reach. We all have goals to achieve. But at the end of the day, when you go home, it's just a job, right? And I remind my team like that, like, hey, this is just your job. Like, how you doing? Are you okay? And then I've been fortunate enough, not with everyone, right? Some people remain within that, work relationship, and that's completely fine. But I've been fortunate enough to have some really awesome conversations that go a little bit deeper, that, people open it up because you're there and available to them. I feel like it allows people to get comfortable enough to share some things that maybe they're going through, or ask for advice or things like that. And I do think that's because of those are the types of conversations that you have within your church community. And it starts to become normal, it seems, but it's really abnormal in the outside world. Like what changed, like for me, was like meeting people in church that I can be like 100% with, like who I am. I think I had people in my life like that, maybe outside of church, or just I've known, or even family knows every part of you or whatever. But then when you get into church, you kind of like give them like 80% of who you are, and or even less sometimes. But when I met and got close to people that like I could just be fully me, good and the bad, then that really changed my perspective of like what my relationship with Jesus is like, because I didn't have to hide like who I am to him even, you know? And I think that was hard for a long time, personally. Like when you're holding back certain areas of your life, like there's reasons why, and sometimes a lot of that is shame or like, you know, personal reasons that you're dealing with. But when you're able to let those things go and like release them, like you can really truly enjoy a relationship, you know? That goes with a couple even, you know? Like if I'm hiding something from my wife all the time, I'm not really like able to enjoy the relationship. So same thing that goes with God. Like when I'm not giving him all of me, like I'm not fully able to receive everything he has for me.
Silicon Valley is like the mecca for software engineers, electrical engineers. So coming out here, seeing all the opportunity, I was just like on this kind of in this rat race with work, so I can get the rewards, build cool things, and that just consumed so much of my time. I went to church sparingly 2 or 3 times. I was very easy to decline a roster position. To be honest, like that sensitivity to the things of God and the people of God dropped dramatically. It felt like a very dry place. And then the pandemic, especially at the beginning, didn't make it any better. I got more and more consumer work because I didn't have to commute to the office. I can just stay in my apartment and just, you know, crank out code or whatever. But it just got to this breaking point. I'm like, man, I'm super dry. I wanna feel that intimacy with God, his community. So I hit up Nathan, who's our creative pastor at the time. And I'm like, bro, I want to come over and I want us to take communion when I come over. So I come out on a Sunday. And at the time, I'm in South Bay, which is like almost an hour from here. Being around folks who actually had a heart for God, who, when you're in hard times, like they turn to praying for you. It's like, if you're not like developing that relationship, you're kind of like the odd man out. Like I remember just random nights out here on the fire pit, and I'm expressing some of the things that's going on, some of the struggles I'm dealing with, and literally we sang and they prayed for me. Everyone there, they laid hands on me. I remember somebody like laid hands on my feet. Somebody prayed against pride in me. I mean, they call out real stuff. Like Des and Adriana is really good at calling out the junk in you, you know? And holding you accountable to it. So yeah, it takes time, and once you get that trust, you'll feel more and more free to let them speak into you, pray over you, and you'll trust the wisdom that's coming from them as well.
We had prayed, kind of took an assessment of what the city needed, at least what we thought, and we kind of married the need with what we were passionate about and some burdens that we had. I think one of the biggest ones really is we're the most unchurched city in America, and like kids and families, they don't go to church, and so we thought, man, how can we bring the gospel to them? And so we thought of Mobilized Love, which is, you know, this fleet of trucks, and we like to say we just Amazon Prime the gospel to where they live.
It's awesome. And so these trucks, you've got a whole fleet of them. What type of trucks are they? What do they do?
Yeah, we're up to 11 trucks now. You know, we started with one, and the first one is actually the Bay Area's first nonprofit food truck. So that's probably the most utilized one to get into the neighborhoods. And then from there we have like a stage truck where we have a mobile kids program, a storage truck, which is mobile literacy program, laundry truck. We're just launching now a wellness truck, and then a few vans for food relief. And then, you know, we have some others in the pipeline.
So when we think about the future of Mobilized Love and the partnership we have together as churches, but also with the churches across the Bay Area and city, what's the future for Mobilized Love? What are your focuses on? Because like as a community, church community, we want to bring significant social impact and change to the city that we live in and the society we're in. And so I think partnering with guys like yourself that are making a difference, what does that future look like for you guys?
So we're really focused on that mission of showing up. It may look different 5 years from now, 10 years from now. The trucks may change. We may not have trucks. Who knows what showing up may look like. But the idea is actually very biblical, that God could have said, I love you from afar, right? But he didn't. He sent his son Jesus to come. So true love has to show up. And I think so long as we're focused on that mission, then it's sustainable, because I think that's where the parachurch and the church align, which is, church, you make disciples of all nations, you pastor people through crisis, you do all the heavy lifting. But really, parachurch has a gift to do things that the church can't do, but we need one another. And so long as we're focused on the mission of showing up and giving hope and really doing what Jesus did, that's how it's sustained, because God's mission is not going to fail. He's going to see it through.
It's awesome. People can show up, I guess, financially. They can show up with their time, with their energy, with resources, in all sorts of ways. And I think that's one of the beautiful things about the church, that together collectively, we can actually bring change to a city. And it doesn't mean we all have to be making a big difference, but together collectively, I think we do make an impact. And I just want to honor you guys and say thank you for what you're doing in the city. It's incredible what you and your family and your team are a part of, and it's an awesome privilege for us to be part of it.
It's honestly in those times of showing up and being with people that has restored so much of my hope and love for the church, of seeing God at work in individual people and being able to witness and point out how God is working in other people's lives has encouraged and refreshed my heart and taught me to love the church in a whole new way that I don't think I had perspective on before.
I look back at all of the communities and or just one-on-one relationships that I've had because of church, and they've always been so fruitful in so many ways. They've spoken into my life in areas that you can't get anywhere else, wisdom, insight, but then have offered me opportunities to be a great friend and to step up to the plate and to fill in areas where maybe they need support or advice or wisdom as well.
Whoever's going to show up in their lives is going to win the battle of influence, whether that's good or bad. My prayer for Hillsong and for Heart for the House is that people would not just say, I love you, but they would show up in a tangible way.
Christ died for his church, and he loves his church. And I want to be obedient to love his church as well, and to do that well, to do that faithfully. And I'm just so grateful to be part of this community, to have people to have taught me that, and then people to walk that out with.